she's sweet but a psycho, a little bit psycho. At night she's screaming, I'm on my mind.
I put this in our group, but how freaking amazing is the name Viridian? Because just finding names is hard.
I'm so glad you guys like it. I was like,
did you not? Did you love it? And you're like, I hope everyone else loves it.
I honestly, it's so, you're not, you might not believe me when I say this, but I was just scrolling through Instagram as one does
Every day.
and I got like, I was getting like these, you guys get those color posts where it's an unheard of or rare color?
No.
And Viridian is actually a shade, it's like a dark shade of green. And I just loved the way it looked. And when I saw that word, I was like, this is an MMC name. Like, this has to be, because it just like, it gave vibes, you know, like of
yes,
this male, like this man. And I just was like, I had his name first, and everything else came after that. Like, that's how it happened.
Top tier name. Great name.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Same with Chris. Like, Chris is not common. How many Isabellas do I freaking read? Everyone is
yeah.
But Chrissa and Viridian, I was like, those are goals. That's good.
Yeah, they are really good names.
Thank you. And then one of my ARC readers came up with their ship name, Cridian. And I was like, love that. Yes.
Cridian.
Yes.
That was perfect.
It's just it goes together so well. And I was like, thank you. This is my personality now. So
I appreciated that you gave them. Yes, I am recording now. I appreciated that you gave them a happy ending. Thank you so much. Because poor babies, the whole time. Like, I found myself like, it's hard for me not to skip forward and be like, when does the pain end? Do they get back together? And I didn't. I stayed. I was like desperate to get through the pain.
Yeah.
To see if they were together.
Yeah.
And then he wanted her. Another great library scene, by the way. Another great library scene.
Oh,
we love that. Yeah.
Love the library scene.
That shadow in the dark scene. And Laura and I both went onto our group and we're like, yo. So he smells her from the other room. Let's start. And yo. And then he's commanding, as we were just mentioning. I was like, I think I love him again. Like, he didn't have me in the beginning. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, this guy's kind of a Tamlin jerk vibe. I don't know how to with this. I'm like, but she's fighting back. She's got fire. She's sass. She's like taking him down. Like, she's really good. And I thought that was really appreciated that she used him in his fierceness.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I don't know where this is going. And then all of a sudden, honestly, everyone, when I messaged Renna, I was like, her coat's in the closet.
Yep. Because so I wanted the enemies to lovers thing to hit, and so he wasn't mean enough or cruel enough at first, and people were like, you need to build up this hate, like you need to make him like, obviously he's still sexy and everything, but they were like, you know, you got to build this up a bit more. And so that was my first round of edits, was really kind of building up that hate a lot more. But then the wardrobe, her cloak in the wardrobe was like, okay, but like, you remembered that. Like, there's the hate, but then at the same time, like, kind of that showing he's not all that bad at first before you really get to see he's not all that bad. But yeah, that was definitely tried to amp up that hate, because I really wanted to hit that hate to love, because I lose my mind over that. That kind of stuff. So,
because I was like, I'm not a fan of this dude, but the coat.
Mm-hmm.
And then he falls so freaking hard for her so quick.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
But also, starting with a freaking bang, I was like, yo, Peach 5, okay?
You immediately went into the chat and you're like, whoa, Renna.
I was like, if you need a reason to read this, excuse me. And then I have in my little notes, for Renna.
Oh boy.
In book 2, same. Do we start in book 2 with spice moment? Because I was like, okay, girl knows how to write spice. Starts out right away. I'm gonna be okay with this book. It's gonna be fine.
We don't start off with a spicy scene in book 2, but I think the sexual tension starts sooner. Like, I mean, I was about to say Critty and Hannah. Krissa and Viridian, they had that kind of hate, like, I'm attracted to you, but I hate it. There is that in book 2. I think that starts a bit sooner with some like physical responses. But no, we don't get right into a spicy scene there, but we do get the immediately forced proximity, sort of with book 2. So
I do
What a
love
way
the
for
female captain of the guard. Like I loved that. The dynamic was great.
she's my favorite, and that's why book 2 has been so fun, because I get to be in her voice and her head, and I was like, this is I love it.
I have a
love
ship
them.
name for them.
Well, yeah. Where's that arc readers come up with another one?
I'm gonna need you guys in July. Like, hit my line. Please, thank you.
I felt for, and oh gosh, please forgive me, but her sweet fiance man, small town boy left behind.
Yes. That was
Viridian walks in. You're not keeping staying up with that. I mean, just real talk. But then she also left him in the dungeon for so long. And I was like, I forgot about him. And I was like, girl, same.
She's like, oh yeah, he's still down.
Yeah. And I feel bad for him. Like, I did feel bad for him, but I kind of was like, he represented her old life. So, like, her forgetting about him was like her kind of realizing that, kind of losing that attachment to her old, you know? So, yeah, everybody says, like, they feel so bad, and I'm like, I do too, but, like, I feel like he's that physical, like, that symbol of that attachment sort of to things there. But at the same time, like, she never was super attached to her old life to begin with. It was just kind of the only thing she knew, like, you know? So, yes, but that man, poor guy, goes through it. So,
especially, you did not shy away from when she goes back to see him and he's like a mess in the dark. Like,
yeah.
But he's still holding the torch for her. That's the best part, is like he's still like fully invested, like, I'm waiting for you, my love, let's get away. And she's like, so anyway,
you see this guy right here? You see
guy? Yes, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I know you've been stuck in prison this whole time. We didn't write. It's just we disconnected. You're just gonna have to. I'll get you out. Don't worry.
Yeah. And it's so tough with them because, like, obviously he's still in it, but at the same time, he's never gonna be able to give her what she needs. But he doesn't understand that. So it's like hard. It's like that disconnect. Yeah, it really is.
Simple farm boy. He wants a lady and babies on his farm.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
You felt so bad for him.
You do. I did. I felt really bad for him.
I love too, like, I have been reading so many good books recently where you guys are describing the food and like the eating and the like. I'm like hungry reading about like this chicken and like I'm getting really hungry. Like we had another author recently who had like a pancake breakfast, and then you have like they're always connecting over this dinner, and I'm like, I'm freaking starving every time I'm reading your book. But you did a great job. Like, I love that they're always meeting over this table. I love that they're always coming back to connect. And you're like, as a reader, looking forward to them being like, you're like, okay, she can calm down because they're gonna meet later. They're gonna meet later.
Yeah, okay, like they're gonna.
But that it was like kind of a Beauty and the Beast throwback, because I caught the gold dress, the yellow dress.
Yes.
Then I was like, they're gonna dress up and play house and have a little dinner. But I definitely saw a lot of parallels in a lot of different fairy tales, especially opening scene Sleeping Beauty with the curtains. But I think you did it in a refreshing way that was really like, it wasn't there, but it was there.
Okay. Oh, good.
Because I mean, how many Beauty and the Beast retellings? There's like a billion, but I really enjoyed your version, and that like there was the curse side which was replaying the movie in my mind of that destroyed wing, and then the dinner and they're dressing up and they're getting shy about it and they're cute even though they've literally been around each other for weeks.
Yep.
And
I love Beauty and the Beast, so that was just like, and I was really nervous about doing a Beauty and the Beast retelling because there are so many of them, and I was like, well, this isn't good. Like, I'm like, people have done this so many times, like, I was really worried about trying to be like super out there, but then I got to a point where I was like, no, this is what I want to do, and I'm just gonna do it and see what happens. So
yeah, lean into it, 100%.
Yeah, exactly. I'm interested in the gods, like at the end when everything just like comes out and they're like, oh, hey, by the way, we're here.
yes,
here in this room with you, and oh, by the way, you're going into this different like realm, in between realms sort of right now. Like, how did you come up with that that whole concept there? Like, that was really interesting to me.
Yeah, so I consume a lot of different kinds of fantasy media, again, as one does. And so like I knew going into it that I needed to have my world in my head about kind of the way it was set up so that when I'm writing, I can kind of have that. But I identify as a plantser. I'm not really a plotter, but I lean more into the pantsing where things happen as I write. So like even when the plot twists come up, I'm like, I didn't know that either until that happened. And then I go back and I edit and I make it I try to weave things in and plant some stuff once I know it's going to happen. So I needed to have some things going in so that hence the P&L, the little bit of plotting and planning that I do. So I came up with the gods and things like that, but the whole concept of going back in, like when he goes and grabs her, kind of drags her back. Is that what you're like asking about?
Yeah.
There's a lot. Like I was thinking a lot about like different times of like how connections and things work, like that there is this other, the idea that there is this other realm outside. And I actually was really inspired. I read a lot of Lindsay Sparks. And she kind of has a similar, like, she really inspired me with like my concept of the soul bonds and how like her books, specifically her Cat to Boss series, really good if you like urban fantasy, like fast paced. Like I binged those books like in succession. Like a week of my life was just those books. But she kind of has a similar notion of like with souls can be kind of knocked out of your body and things like that, and how the connection of soul bonds can kind of be used to tether or ground people. So it kind of inspired me to do something similar where their connection kind of allows him to go after her and kind of yank her back, to a degree. So
romantic.
Yes. So I am such a
thinking-
hopeless romantic, and I feel like that comes through with
it translated like
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I just liked how you described how he like moved through through the space when he wasn't connected to his body.
Yeah.
He was like floating. It was fun.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked that.
Mhm.
Because I was trying to think like it to me, like I was kind of thinking like astral projection almost, like where people who have out of body experiences have described being like pulled out and floating. So I was kind of like, oh, like that was kind of in my head, like, oh, it could be something like that.
Yeah, it definitely felt that. Like I saw like the scene in my head. It was really cool.
I really thought your world was really well thought out and really well developed. I think you've made a really interesting world. And I love the idea of those, of like all my favorite fantasy stuff kind of put together into one story with soul bonds and magic and curses and fairy tales. And I think you have so much potential in your world to do so many cool things.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you guys do it and keep these worlds in your brain. I don't know. I read a book and it's like vibes and it's gone. Like, I don't know how you remember these things. I'm so impressed.
I am a Google Doc girly. I I will have, and Eva's nodding. I just have like this planning doc, and I just have like everything. See, because I'm also too, I'm kind of flighty. So like if I don't write something down, it's gonna kind of come in and out. So I have like a notebook, and then I have a Google Doc where I just put all my worlds, all my lore, every detail. It just goes in the doc, and I'm constantly
You have any
referencing.
notes that you're like, what the heck?
Sometimes I will have little conversations with myself. Like I'll have a thought, and then in parentheses, I'll be like, ooh, this is good, or ooh, like something like that. Or I will just kind of go back and forth. And like bullet points, I'll be like, oh, this is cool. Should expand on this. And then yes, do this, blah, 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 blah.
So you
Like it
with yourself.
yeah.
I love it.
So there's definitely sometimes where I'm like, what was it? And then I kind of refollow the thought process, and I'm like, I get it now.
Because there's like 2 a.m. thoughts, there's driving and at red light thoughts, there's shower thoughts.
Yes.
The whole time,
Yes.
like, that was a good one. What was it?
Yes.
Trying to remember. And I do have a book that I showed no one. No one. It has like, I think I had some middle of the night thought, and it was like, he's transsexual. And then I don't know what. That's but it was intriguing at 2 a.m. I asked, because I will not write a book. I can't organize my thoughts, but I have a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
At 2 a.m. I don't know how to plot a book, but I know that your planting, the way that you just write as you go is a coveted skill. I know that lots of authors
really
prefer to have that.
Wow.
Do you write linearly, or do you like write like more like quilting it, or like are you like a mood writer? You write based on like whatever you're feeling. Like, I'm feeling sad today, so I'm gonna write this sad scene.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting because I've always written linearly for the most part. But with A Broken Thread of Bronze, and I tend to like, and I'm gonna sound like a crazy person, but I will like see the characters, or I'll like very visual, like I'll see things and I'm like, oh, I gotta write that down, or the characters will talk in my head until I write the scene down. And generally for the most part, like things tend to have always gone linearly for me. But with A Broken Thread of Bronze, I was for the most part was drafting in a linear fashion, but I would get scenes pop into my head that I'm seeing and I'm hearing, and I would I have to write those down immediately when that happens. And so I'll typically write pretty linearly, but I'll have scenes either ahead or something like that I'll write. And then I will write up to that point, like I'll connect them as I'm going through. So generally linear, but I will have a couple that I quilt because they're just in my head and they need to get out of my head so I can function and go about my day. I can't have you talking in my ear while I'm trying to do things.
I watched Carissa Broadbent give a talk about that. She wrote Serpent in the Wings of Night, and she has the exact same explanation. Like, she's like, I see the scene in my mind, and then I figure out where it goes. Like,
yeah.
That's amazing.
It's just, and then having them there too, it's like I know they're there. So I will tend to put them in my main document so that I can still see everything, but I'll just put like add more to get here. And then like I'll get through it, and then it'll just connect sort of as I do that.
In Broken Throne of Bronze, what was one of those scenes that you just really saw vividly?
So the butter knife scene, that one I saw vividly. That one I wrote before I got there. The scene where he bursts into her room, I had that one in my brain. The scene where she overhears him and Murden talking, that was another one. I had a lot for that book, like more than usual. And I was like, it was just like really hitting me, like coming to me. And then the scene with them dancing the ball was one. Yeah. There were like quite a few that I just was like, they're in my head. And like some of his one-liners when they're on the one horse together too, like were just in my head, but those were just those one lines and I would put those down. But yeah, there were definitely a lot for that book.
You described like all my favorite scenes. So that's
I love it. I think it's divine intervention. It's just like, here you go. This is in your head now. Like the universe was like, this is in your head now. You're welcome.
Well, those are the ones that I definitely remember.
Yeah.
and I definitely enjoyed.
I'm glad.
I mean,
Yes.
I enjoyed them too.
Yeah. Those are stuck right up in here. And those were the ones that I shouted about.
Uh,
Yes,
But
she
I
sounded very loudly.
I can't help myself. Isn't that the point of Bookstagram? Like, you've given me a
Absolutely.
platform. You put together, we were all just talking about how you put together like all our favorite tropes into a book. And so I wanted to know, like, as a group, what was your favorite trope out of this book? And like, what was the best part for you?
Yeah. So they're all tropes that this book really was everything I love and everything I wanted in a book. Which I know, Aoife, you were saying too, like you just wrote the book you wanted to read. And my favorite trope though, my favorite of the tropey scenes is the knife. It's the knife to the throat one. Like that one is definitely my favorite. And I just love the tension in that, you know, like she's up there with a butter knife and she thinks like she's going to do something, but like he also is like, not underestimating her. He's like, yeah, you could probably really do some damage to me with that, you know, like, I just loved that.
I also really love that scene because she's so damn fiery. She doesn't give
She's
up.
just so
That
confident.
was like, girl is not going to give up. She's not going to stop.
Yeah.
And I like that he didn't underestimate her.
Yeah. Yeah. Like he knows from the get-go that they're equals, but she thinks that he thinks she's lesser. But like the whole time he's like, no, like I get it. Like I know.
Well, I think my favorite trope, I was just trying to think of them all. I have a lot I really liked about your book. I love that he's gone for her first trope. It's like my favorite because it's just everywhere in the book.
I melt for that.
All the scenes of when he's like so sweet to her over dinner and in the library and like setting her up this whole entire room of art stuff, like making her a studio. It's like, and then freaking out like she might be in danger and like all just like all of these. He's so good for her. It's so cute when you're like, how do you not know, you dumb boy? How do you?
I know.
Oh,
you want to go in there and just like bang his head around a little, like get it together. Like, what do you mean?
Oh, the miscommunication. I'm so frustrated sometimes. I was reading and I'm like, just say the words. You're writing the words in your head. You're thinking the words. Just say them out of your mouth to him the whole time. And then they finally did. And I was like, okay, no, I'm happy again.
Yeah.
and that's like I was trying to go forward.
Yeah.
I was reading so fast because I'm like, okay, when did they say it? When did they say it? When did they say it?
Yeah. And that's really like, and that's one of the things too that I like in books and I wanted in books was like the characters' flaws, like how emotions sometimes when you're not thinking clearly, like there might be something logical that we on the outside can see, but they can't because they're living it and they're in the moment and their emotions are kind of taking over. So that's something I wanted to kind of convey too, because like, you know, like emotions are relatable and people are in there and you know, they're not going to be like perfect, they're flawed. And sometimes they're going to do the wrong thing because they're emotional. Like, you know, like they're human or like they, but like you get you get the point, you know?
You're too close to it, so you can't see it.
Yeah, exactly.
You're living it.
And is a deer your favorite animal because of the little fawn reference, the nickname that you have for him?
Yeah, they are not my favorite animal, but I was drawn to that for the reason why he picked it is that, you know, I kind of deer are also, this is kind of unrelated, but my mom says that seeing a deer is a good omen. So like whenever we see a deer, we're like, oh, this is the universe, like something good is happening. So like I was thinking about, I've kind of had that in my head, but I also was thinking of like a young fawn, like, you know, they look so weak, but at the same time, like there's a lot of things out there trying to kill them. And they do have like this resilience that might not be seen. So that really was kind of where it came from. But yeah, no, I was a big horse girly when I was a kid. I still might be like a horse girly. I don't know.
Ride horses?
No, I don't. I'm also a city girly. So
I'm a horse appreciator.
I'm a horse appreciator. Like I would love to ride horses, but there isn't just like a lot of places to do that like that in the area where I grew up.
Scares the junk out of me. I am not going to get on something bigger than me. That is not happening. I appreciate a one horse moment very much.
Yes.
I will not ride a horse. I got bucked off of one when I was a kid.
Oh,
Again, I've learned how to sword play via books. I've learned how to ride horses via books because I am not going to go near a horse, but I appreciate them. They're very
Yes.
pretty. They also have a
Yeah.
smell, not pleasant. I live in
Yeah.
it's hot here all the time.
Uh,
Not pleasant. little
They're
barns.
just so much bigger in person.
yeah.
That too?
mhm.
It could hurt me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I rode a pony when I was like younger. So I did, but I had to research a lot with the horse riding because I wanted to get it right. So yeah.
Do you have the million tabs of all the research? Because oh man, when I was looking up, like trying to outline something, I still have. I don't know. Why did I look that up? You go on a deep dive.
You do, and then you just get on a bunch. What my fiance gets me for is I will write things on post-it notes, and I'll put the post-it note on the wall above my desk. So he'll come in, and I'll just have a sea of post-it notes, and he's like, "You look like a psychopath, like you know that, right?"
Your murder wall.
And I'm like, I'm just very much, and this is my brain is so like, this is where my brain is my brain, but like, I'll just get a thought immediately. And I'm like, I need to do something with it right now or else it's going to be gone. So I'll just frantically write, paste, and then I can move on, you know?
100% understand that.
Yeah.
So you don't get stuck.
Yes, exactly.
Is that ADHD?
Mhm.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
It's actually funny because like, then I'm like, I need to talk to somebody about that because like, for sure, it might be, and I should like follow up on that.
Renna, we're coping fine. Okay.
Yeah.
We got our post-it notes. That's all we need.
Right? Like if it's working for you,
You're
why
so
get it?
right.
I worry about it.
True.
I don't need help.
Yeah.
Excuse
He's
me.
saying, "Oh, fine. You got a book."
Yeah, the
True.
process system works fine. You have written a whole dang book, okay?
True.
You're fine. You're fine.
True. It
I
did get
lose
yeah.
a post-it note
Yeah.
or two, and that becomes problematic. Not the most effective organization strategy.
Yeah. But no, it's fine. It's fine. But I feel like that explains like the fact that we might be there. That explains a lot about me. So and the way that I work and I write for sure. So
It worked out. You have a whole dang book, and it's a great book. And I want to know why medals. Like, I am a medal
those
appreciator.
interesting.
You are a horse
Yeah.
appreciator. But like, I love this idea. So why did you pick these?
So I wanted to I feel like the seasons for courts have been done a lot, and like the Sealy versus Unsealy, like the way you did it, Aoife, was very unique. But it like the way like they have it kind of your typical like Sarah J. Maas kind of broken up. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to kind of come up with my own sort of thing. And so I also will make lists when I brainstorm. And so I was just kind of writing out ideas. The first couple are bad, so you don't look at those, but it's just to get the wheels turning, you know what I mean? But I, a lot of times, will try to turn to something that I can use as an inspiration and kind of go off. And I, at one point, thought I wanted to go into biology. So I took a lot of chemistry in high school. And one of the things that you learn about is how each element has its own properties. And so, and one of the pieces of advice that I had gotten with building a world is think about this one thing that can be a focal point for your world. So what is their economy run off of? What is their culture based off? How it's all connected to this one thing. And so I kind of landed on metals because like metals have their own properties, and in my world, the magic system, which you don't see a ton of in book 1, but you'll start to get more of it in book 2. Like the magic system is based on the properties of the metals, and like metals is the trade, so the economy, like food and things like that. It all kind of came around that. And so I was like, oh, like if the metals is such a big deal, like it kind of makes sense that their whole life would be built around this. And that's sort of how we landed on that. I also think like I love medals and titles too. Like I like having that kind of feel. And so I was like, medal, and it's something that I feel like isn't really played around with a lot. And I was like, why not? Like this could be really cool. So
It worked really, really well.
Thank you.
Really cool.
Thank you.
And I looked through the book, and I don't know if maybe I missed it, so please help me. But I looked through the book for like, it didn't seem to me as a reader that like any metal had like a hierarchy over any other particular ones.
Yeah, no, they're all kind of
They're all just,
mhm.
this is what our kingdom makes. This is what our kingdom makes.
Yeah.
There wasn't like warfare between like gold is the best, bronze is the best.
Yeah.
And I liked that you took that because it was expected for me that you would have some precious metals be more valuable than others. But I really like that they're all literally just separated by what they can create.
Exactly.
Or what they can
create. Because I mean, like in our world, like it's money wise, but like in this world, like they all are kind of valued the same because they each have their own magic that's only practiced through that. So they all are valuable because they've all, it's like supply and demand wise, they all kind of have similar supplies and demand and things like that. So it made sense for them to be like that. But I also didn't want it to be like, oh, we make gold, so we're better than you, even though the Palaverons do think they're better than everybody else, but that's a different issue. But
doesn't have to be, But I also, before we move on to your questions, I wanted to tell you I appreciated so much that you wrote such a vulnerable man, that you wrote an emotionally available. My heart broke with his father. Like, it's completely vulnerable dude who I could see upset. I love a good hurt comfort. There's the other trope I loved in this. And that, oh my gosh, just his relationship with his father, the whole thing with his mother, the whole mystery behind his parents' relationship and what's going on, and that it was breaking him. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and like, because Vor was kind of like he's kind of like a villainish, not like he's the villain, but he's kind of an antagonist at first with forcing them. And one of the things about that I really want, and especially my villains, is I want you to see where they're coming from, even though they're wrong. Like, I want you to get why they do the things they do. They're not just bad to be bad. I always just want like a reason. And so for him, like to have that kind of brokenness, it really kind of contributed to, like I felt like it made you see why maybe he did some of the things he did. Maybe, he wasn't right in doing things like, but he's fleshed, you know what I mean? He's not two-dimensional. Like, he's not bad to do that.
Strengths in your writing is that you have a very strong emotional character, that Carissa has so much in her mind about how she wants to grow and why is she feeling this way and analyzing herself. And then Viridian is trying his poor baby best. And I just think that you made a good, like, it made emotional sense for why they're doing what they're doing and who they are and everything. Amber is saying something because I'm talking too much.
Ooh. I love to have special edition with like metal and foiling. I need to figure out how to make it happen, but I want it to happen. Like, so I'm trying to research, like I heard 48-hour books does like foiling and things.
It does.
So I'm looking into that.
Copper.
I know. I just think that would be so cool. I want that.
I was reading your book, both of your books really, and I just could like see it in my mind's eye. How A Fate Inked in Blood. Have you guys seen that one that came out with that really pretty like Elsa frosted blue edge to it? And I was like, I need to. While you were talking, I was literally going on both of your websites and going, do they have them? Do they have them? Do they have them?
I gotta do it. I know. I don't have a shop set up yet, but that is in the works. I gotta figure out like how to make that work and like with the taxes and things like that. I gotta figure that out. But
well, now it's
beautiful.
Siri, calm down. Sorry.
Don't worry.
I thought that was Sarah.
No, I was.
Siri. So Renna, now it's your turn to ask us questions.
Sure. I guess like I kind of picking up Aoife's question. I just want to know everybody. I like to know who's favorite character, like who your favorite character is. Like because I'm curious to see like who you stuck with you more, who you liked more. That's always like what I'm interested in. So I guess like like who did you like?
I'm gonna pronounce your name wrong.
That's totally okay. Linsea, yes.
I loved her. I also loved Viridian. Like I love that he kind of grows on you. Obviously you meet him through Chris's eyes, and he's like this monstrous asshole at first.
Yeah.
And then you get to know him, and you like fall in love with him as she does. I also really loved that you kind of inverted this this thing that we see a lot in fantasy romance, with like the older fae lover being really sexually experienced, and he wasn't. I really, really like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I'm glad. And I know like people like sometimes like again, you're not supposed to look at feedback, but some are like, well, like why wasn't that expanded on more? Like why? But it was because I didn't want it to be his defining personality. You know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of times with the female main character, like when they are sexually inexperienced, that's their whole personality. And I just wanted it to be like, he's this, but like it doesn't have a bearing on who he is. It's just, you know, it's just he's done that experience, but he can still have fantasies. He can still have desires. Like he doesn't have to be like pure in the head just because he hasn't done things. So I'm glad that resonates, because I really wanted to kind of turn that around and change how that is in romantasy.
Yeah,
Kinda, you know.
Maggie?
I liked Limsia.
I-
I'm just really excited for her book.
She's my girl. Oh, she's my girl. I think you guys are really gonna like book 2. You're gonna really get to know her. I mean, you're gonna be in her head, so you're gonna get to know her a lot more, like her backstory and her and Ashero's. I think he may be hotter than, I know this is sacrilege, but I think he's hot. I think he may be hotter than Viridian. That man's mouth, like the snark.
I mean, it's like Kathleen versus Rysand, right? Like,
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, something so like he's just like, because Viridian
like
has
not
a mouth
necessarily,
too.
but
He's
like you're gonna
not
like
a
one or the
filthy
other.
mouth. Yes, but I think if that's a good way to
So they're very different personalities,
conceptualize.
very different people,
Right.
very different looks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, my favorite's Viridian.
Ugh.
Yeah, I think Viridian's my favorite too.
Yeah. I liked his vulnerability. I loved his backstory. I liked his I like the sad parts of his dad. I like that he was always searching for her. I like that Chris is like the last piece of his puzzle that she completes him. And I really liked his arc. Like Ava was saying, he's an awful asshole. And then he grows on you through Chris's eyes, of course. But when you see those pockets of endearing moments, you're like, oh, he's really actually great.
Like he's actually a cinnamon roll, but like he feels like he has to play this up.
Well, I mean, with his childhood and everything, that makes sense. But I just think he, as a character, is particularly interesting. Not just because he's a sexy man with black hair and all the perfect things, but that he's an interesting character that, like, I want to see more of and see how he does. If you revisit him and Chris,
you will see more of him. I mean, like you're gonna see them throughout. So like he doesn't pop up. They pop up a little bit in book 2. So you'll get to kind of hear from them and follow up with them. And you're gonna see more of him as we go on. Like you're gonna get, I know there were still some answers about some of his backstory and his magic, and like you're gonna get answers to those things. But so you will see more of them. Him and Krissa, you'll see more of him and Krissa.
I want to see them as rulers and like the kingdom
Yeah.
and how the world develops from their rule.
Yeah. We're definitely gonna get into that.
How many books do you have planned?
I have 5 in my head. Because I want one to kind of focus on each of the courts in a way, like kind of get you there. So books 2 and 3 take place at the same time. So Limsei and Asheros are really in their own little bubble. Like they're getting stuff from the outside world. Like they'll, like Limsei will kind of, like, not to give too much away, but she will communicate with Chris and Viridian at times. But for a lot of times, like they're doing their thing and they're getting updates about shit going down. And so book 3 is gonna show more of the political stuff that's happening when they're in their own little world. So you'll get to see some of that, and then 4 and 5 are gonna kind of advance from that. So, but I also have a bunch of novellas planned. Like I just keep getting ideas. So like I've got the 5 main books, and then I have an idea for a novella about Viridian's parents that I've kind of already plotted and thought out.
That'd be interesting.
And then a
Oh, but
novella
they're
of
heartbreaking. They're so
yeah, I think it's going to be when they're younger, so like before like kind of his birth and stuff like that, but it's going to set you up for it's going to kind of you're going to see where they're going like from the end of it. You're going to be like, okay, like I can tell where it's going from the end from here. I also have a novella planned about the last Palaveron High Queen.
Oh yeah.
But that's
sounds-
gonna come out. That one has to come out after the main series is done because there's a lot in the main series that needs to happen that I don't want to spoil for that. But you're gonna get backstory through the main series, and you already start to get it in book 2 that you're gonna actually see happening when we get to the last Palaveron Queen's novella. But and then I also have a newsletter freebie that novella that just popped into my head about 2 characters from book 2 that were just there, and I'm like, so many ideas in my brain, and I'm like, you need to get through it one at a time. Like we gotta get through. But long story short, there's a lot more for this world.
I love it.
So
I mean, now is the time to be a romantic writer, a romantic reader.
true. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just chugging along doing my thing. But I wish I could write full time. Then I would get things out more. But someday we'll get there. Someday we'll get there. Manifesting. But yeah.
That sounds really exciting. It sounds. I love that you have so much going on in your head. How do you do this? Blowing my mind.
It's just, it's like there's always a thought in my brain. Like it's just there's always something going on, and it's just like even if I wasn't publishing, I would be writing stories because there's always something. Like I've been like writing stories since I was like 8. Like I used to make little books and I would like write it and draw it and stuff. So it's always kind of been a part of me as a person. So
what are your like, oh no, this is your question time.
No, feel free. That's okay. This is open conversation.
I want to know like what your childhood books, like what was your love of reading when you were a kid? Like
okay. I have a whole box of them still. I'm not home, otherwise I would show you the box. I have a lot. I was obsessed with the Pixie Hollow books when I was like a small child. Like the fairy Pixie Hollow books. And so my early things, I had a series with a self-insert of myself as like a fairy in a similar world, and I would just write stories like that. I even drew the covers to look like the Pixie Hollow covers. So I would do stuff like that.
You're making me old.
That's okay. I'm a youngin. I'm young.
College, but okay.
It's okay. Totally okay.
I love that little baby fairies were your favorite stories. Oh my gosh, because those movies are stinking cute, and they have. I mean, they make me cry. I don't know if you guys have seen
ones.
Yeah, the movies didn't come out.
Never Beast.
Yeah, the movies didn't come out until I was older, so those were a little bit. But yeah, the books were so good.
I feel like I should grab them now for my daughter.
I was obsessed with them, and they have so many, but yeah.
So what's your comfort read? Like you'll reread that baby every year.
Okay, this is I do have a response, and this is I love The Host by Stephanie Meyer, which is not romantasy. But again, maybe this is the undiagnosed ADHD, but I can't reread books a lot. I get bored like when I know how things are going to happen. But for some reason with The Host, I reread that like once a year. It's just like those characters are my comfort characters, and I can come back to them over and over when normally I can't reread a ton. So The Host by Stephanie Meyer, but also Fairest by Gail Carson Levine, which is also kind of like a kid's younger like book, but that one I can read. Yeah, it's like
You wrote Ella Enchanted.
Yes, she did. Yeah. So Fairest.
Oh, very wholesome though.
Yes, and it's very fairy tale-esque, that book too. So I'm definitely a fairy tale, grew up on Disney movies, girly. So I guess that makes sense why I do what I do.
Me too.
But, yeah. So.
I will win every Disney trivia competition in the history of Disney.
I will take you down, Anna.
Yeah. I'm not that.
Don't challenge me, because I will take you out and you'll know.
Oh.
I see a meeting in our future.
Oh my god.
Trivia and maybe adult beverages. I think that would be very, very nice.
That sounds like a great time.
I know you can join us.
That
Come on
sounds
in.
like, yes,
Karaoke,
please.
It might be Maggie and I just being way too annoying about how we won't lose. But I'm not going to lose, so that's fine.
Oh,
So
Okay.
speaking of your love of Disney or fantasy anyway, are you gonna stick with any of the other like Disney-esque themes for the other books in your tale? Because you kind of have the Beauty and the
Ooh,
Beast.
yeah.
So,
More
are
reach-
you picking
Yeah,
other? Are you allowed to say? Are you picking others for themes for?
I think I can. I don't know. So I'm not doing the straight retelling or loose retelling like I did with book one, but there's definitely some Snow White vibes for book two. There's some found family in there, you know, and there's a thing that happens in book two that kind of was a little like Snow White. I can't really give you much more than that because I
Bring
don't
in the
want
little
to
dwarves.
spoil. But there are no dwarves, but like the found family aspect of it. But yes, there's a very fairy tale thing that happens in book two that you will see. And the beta readers, when were ecstatic, they were like, "Oh my god!" So yeah, so they're going to be fairy tale vibes, I think, just because that's the kind of media that I consume and I like, and the things that I do. So long story short, yes, but it won't be like a retelling ish, if that makes sense.
Do you read other books while you're writing?
I
Do you have,
do. I do. I haven't read a ton lately because I've been busy. But I do read while I'm writing because I find when I get stuck, it regenerates, like it kind of gets the creative juices flowing again. Or even when I walking into bookstores makes me want to write for some reason, where I'm like, oh, I want to go back and write now. So long story short, yes, I'll read typically in the genre that I'm writing in at a time. So that way I'm in the right headspace for the conventions and things like that. Because genres are very specific in things. And I was writing urban fantasy before I wrote A Broken Throne of Bronze, which was my debut high fantasy, full fantasy romance. So it was good to get myself in the headspace before.
I would think that it would change my writing style because I tend to write in the way I'm reading. I don't know. I am very influenced, apparently. What I read.
Fair. That's fair.
Interesting. I like picking your brain. You have an interesting brain.
I'm glad you think so.
Very interesting. In a good way, obviously.
Yeah.
But
No. Yeah.
what
No,
do you
really, I'm glad.
do? Do you want me to stop recording? But what do you do outside of this? Right.
Oh, I can record. I'm actually in law school. I'm going into my third year of law school. And I'm currently like doing like a summer internship with like a government sort of in the public sector. So it's like by daytime, I'm like researching cases. I'm doing legal writing, which is very different from fiction writing. So that's my full-time, my day job. That's more than just a day job because you come home and you have like reading and stuff to do. But yeah.
Wow.
Lawyerly inclined person. Will be lawyerly inclined person. Not there yet. But
I just read a book that taught me all about contracts because there was a contract in it that I think they wrote every single detail of the contract. And I was like, I am in awe.
You're like, I don't need to know this. Like
the legalese in the book, I was like, wow.
Yeah, you have to break it down. Like it's
So impressed. I don't understand at all how anyone can understand any of that, let alone like medical jargon. You kidding me?
Oh, I
Please
don't
no.
know. That's a whole nother planet. I don't know medical jargon or physics or
You are
things
on
like
another
that.
planet.
But,
you don't realize, but you are not on Earth. You are in clear land. And I am continually impressed by you.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
Laura, giveaway time?
Yes.
Yes. So I think, yeah, Ava, did you want to enter the raffle as well?
Yeah. Oh God, sorry, I've been completely ignoring the chat.
Okay.
I don't think we have anything, do we?
Oh yeah,
I've
I
been
don't know. I feel bad.
Oh no, there are. No, it was just Amber speaking.
Yes, we
Yeah,
saw
it's
that.
just you and
Yep.
Amber. So you can just say your numbers. What number do you want? Take a
My-
number 1 through 5.
My shameless plug for hardcovers. Yes.
Sarah and Maggie, you can join.
And let me pull this up. I would show you the box again, but you were all in the last chat. So.
Did I apologize to everyone for hanging up on you? I'm very sorry.
Yes.
Okay, I'm still traumatized. Especially because on my way out, I was like, peace. And the internet is a mystery to me. Technology in general is a mystery to me. Aside of my kids, well, I don't know what I'm doing. I barely know that. Sometimes I go to click, shop, and buy now, and it does nothing. And I'm like, it's dead. I need a new one. Oh, no.
A new internet.
I need a whole new one.
Throw it all away. We got to start fresh.
Amazon wrote it. They should know what's up.
It's usually a 50-50 flip of like words are hard today or technology is hard today or it's a super bad day when it's both. And I'm just like, no, I'm just going to hit restart. I'm going back to bed and we'll try again tomorrow.
Is that the day when you're annoyed all day long and then your pant loop gets caught on the handle and it just ticks you off even more? And you're just like, screw the world. Yes.
Yes.
I know about those days.
Whenever I have one of those days, me and my husband will Google, is Mercury in retrograde? Yeah. And it never is.
It never is.
I'm always like, it's a new moon or it's a full moon because the moon messes up everything. Full or new.
Dictates my
Forget
whole
it.
life.
It really does.
Yes.
We have a running joke I always say is Mercury in retrograde, and he replies, "Well, is Pluto in Uranus?" And I'm like, "Yeah, tell us about that."
In our house, we say that Mercury's in the microwave.
Okay,
funny.
sorry. This was a really slow one. I finally picked. Okay, number 3. Who's that?
So excited! Yay!
Awesome.
Thank you.
She's sweet but a psycho, a little